From ABC News, World News Sunday, here's Forrest Sawyer.
Good evening. Secretary of State Baker left for Europe today to prepare for Wednesday's meeting with the Iraqi foreign minister, a meeting that may be the last chance for U.S.-Iraqi diplomacy to head off war in the Persian Gulf. But Baker told ABC News there is no room for negotiation, and congressional leaders appear to be closing ranks behind the president. ABC's David Ensor has more.
Before departing today for Europe and his meeting with Iraq's foreign minister, Secretary Baker said he will not go to Baghdad afterwards, and the U.S. is no longer interested in a meeting with Saddam Hussein.
I'm telling you that the United States, on the initiative of President Bush, has tried for the past 3 weeks to generate meetings.
You made the point. I'm just
That's right.
trying to...
And we haven't had one proposal from the government of Iraq.
So you're not closing the door.
And I am closing the door.
And while Tariq Aziz can say what he wishes in Geneva, Baker stressed the two will not negotiate. He will be carrying a letter from President Bush to Saddam Hussein, warning him to get out of Kuwait by January 15th or face the consequences.
They, in all probability, will have force used against them to eject them from Kuwait.
You just want to tell them face to face what they've already heard over and over.
Yes, to make sure that, that they hear it face to face.
As soon as the meeting is over, congressional leaders say the House and Senate will start debate on whether to authorize the president to use force if Iraq doesn't budge. Speaker Foley predicts a House vote as early as Friday, with a narrow victory for the president.
Myself, I'd have to say that I believe there will be a majority if the vote were taken today.
In the Senate, Republican leader Dole predicts the president will win easily. Senior administration officials say they want to make sure Iraq understands today's warning. Iraq has just this one last chance to talk to the U.S. at a high level. Baker will tell Iraq's foreign minister the U.S. is serious. January 15th really is the deadline if you want to avoid war. David Ensor, ABC News, the State Department.
Iraq held out a diplomatic carrot and stick today. The ambassador in Washington, Mohammed al-Mashat, said that everything is negotiable in the crisis. But Saddam Hussein again ruled out an unconditional withdrawal from Kuwait, and he warned Iraqis to prepare for a long, bloody war full of sacrifices. ABC's Sheila McVicker is in Baghdad.
On Army Day, Iraq's day of celebration of the founding and strength of Iraqi forces, the ceremonial parade ground was deserted. The tanks, men, and missiles displayed here last year are now deployed in readiness for war. Diplomats here say Iraq's leaders are mentally prepared for war, but some believe they have planned to fight a land war with tanks and soldiers similar to the 8-year war with Iran, a country with no air force. Iraqi President Saddam Hussein went on television with a strongly worded speech to his troops. Just 3 days before his foreign minister meets James Baker in Geneva, there was no sign that Saddam is prepared to withdraw from Kuwait.
The coming battle will be the mother of all battles. It will not be short or simple. This battle has been ordained by God. It is a reward from God.
As part of Army Day, Iraq officially remembered its dead from past wars. At the tomb of the unknown soldier, the defense minister laid a wreath. Diplomats were invited, but those from countries allied against Iraq, including the United States, chose not to attend. One said it was inappropriate. Diplomats here say it is unclear how much can be achieved at the Geneva meeting between Aziz and Baker. It is Iraq's president that makes the decisions, and diplomats say they expect Mr. Aziz will simply be carrying messages. Sheila McVicker, ABC News, Baghdad.
The U.S.-led alliance is continuing its war preparations. 42 NATO airplanes flew to Turkey today, part of a force intended to deter a potential Iraqi attack. Germany sent 18 ground attack planes, the first German military deployment to a war zone since World War II. The move has triggered a bitter constitutional debate among Germans. In fact, a new poll shows 75% of all Germans believe their country should stay out of international conflicts. Saudi Arabia appeared to offer its own diplomatic carrot to Saddam today. King Fahd said the Saudis would help mediate Iraq's claims against Kuwait. But Fahd also repeated the U.S. warning: Iraq must withdraw first. To underscore the warning, the king met some of the troops gathered to force that withdrawal. Here's ABC's Linda Patilla.
The Saudi king was greeted by the commander of U.S. forces, General Norman Schwarzkopf. It was King Fahd's first visit to the nearly 500,000 troops who have been massing in his kingdom since August. Less than 60 miles from the Kuwaiti border, more than 5,000 troops from 16 different countries stood in formation. Egyptians, Syrians, French, and Kuwaiti. Later, the king held a rare question and answer session, his first since Iraq invaded Kuwait. Despite the tough talk coming from the U.S. and Iraq, the Saudi king was conciliatory. If Saddam Hussein withdraws from Kuwait, he said, he should not be punished further, and Iraq and Kuwait could negotiate over disputed territory. In what sounded like the text of a future Arab settlement, in his final point, he said all foreign troops would withdraw from Saudi Arabia when the crisis is over. If there was any criticism that the Saudi royalty waited so long to greet the troops, it was not coming from the top of the U.S. command.
You know, who am I to tell kings what to do? You know, they're very busy people. I just think it's a wonderful gesture that he's coming out now to see them.
Not just a gesture, however, but more what appeared part of a carefully staged scenario for the Saudis to emerge at the forefront of any Arab solution to the crisis. The king's message to Saddam Hussein seemed perfectly timed on the eve of a week that will see a flurry of private and public diplomacy. Linda Patillo, ABC News, Saudi Arabia.
And later in the broadcast, how some dancers in South Bend, Indiana, are getting out from under a cloud of